From Ohio's haylofts and tool sheds, driveways and blacktops where future legends practice buzzer beaters under dimly lit mercury lights, it's the show that covers all things high school basketball. Here is Northwest Ohio Hoop Chat. And now two guys who wake up early on Groundhog Day to find out if there's 6 more weeks of basketball season for their teams. OHSAA Hall of Fame coaches and your hosts, Doug and Dave Kraus.
Well, welcome everybody to this week's Northwest Ohio Hoop Chat. Got Doug and Dave Kraus with you today, and boy, I tell you what, number one, I love that song. I got my polka dancing going on right now.
I'm ready to jump out of my chair.
I'm back at the Hamler Summerfest right now. Hey, but going back to what Ryan talked about, are there 6 weeks of basketball to go? We're getting down nitty gritty, that's for sure. And this week we have the girls' draw, Doug, and a week from Sunday out, we have the boys' draw. So, you know, this year, and it's been this way now for 2 or 3 years, a whole different way of doing the draw. But it's not like at the old days where we'd go in there and you'd post your records, and it was all done at a site, and boy, it was tense. It would get tense in a draw room, and you had to seed the teams, and then there was a little pill box for all the, let's say, 6 teams. That 1 through 6 pills were to be drawn, and that was how you placed yourself onto a bracket. So, boy, it was a process, and sometimes you could mess up that process too. So, but this year now with the Max Preps way of doing things, your RPI, you know, it's pretty much self-cut and dry. Everything's done, but where can people find the RPIs if they want to locate that?
Well, probably the easiest thing is go to the OHSAA website and click on tournaments and, you know, boys or girls, and then right underneath, once you click there, they'll say Ohio RPI, and you can check it out. And it's good stuff. And we had Brayton Martin in here a few weeks ago, and his RPI is really good too. But they're using the Max Preps on the OHSAA website. A lot of similarities, but there's a difference one here and there.
But so fans can go on board and online and see where your school at per the district RPI. So, you know, but going back to the draws, you know, those were some fun times. And Doug, do you have a favorite draw looking back that maybe you would like to share a little bit of information with?
Well, I suppose I have one in my mind, and you obviously were a huge part of that as well. 1996, we went to the draw at Defiance High School. There were 3 pretty good teams in that. Ourselves, we were undefeated. There was 4 teams, and it was your Patrick Henry team, there was Liberty Center team, and there was a Fairview team with Ralph Rufer. Well, we had beaten all 3 other teams.
Well, you're undefeated, so I guess exactly. That's obvious.
And then the other 3 teams beat each other. I mean, you all played each other, and you all had one loss to each other. So anyway, the vote came, and you had to vote alphabetical order. And on that year, the second seed went Z to A. So I was the last vote. Well, make a long story short, everybody got 2 votes. And I was the last vote, and I voted for Patrick Henry. We had just beaten you guys luckier than heck on the 1-point game in the third season, so yeah, I had no problem with that. So we voted again, and everything's the same. And finally, you had to flip a coin, and with your luck, you won the coin flip, and you got the second seed by a coin flip. All right. Now Liberty and Fairview's got to pull pills out, 1 to 4, and sure enough, they pull out the 3 and the 4. So they're playing each other in game 1. They're really good squads, and Tenor and Delta were the other 2 teams. Then they got in your bracket. So we had 3 teams, ourselves plus Fairview and Liberty in our bracket. And when that draw ended, I never saw you run so fast in my life. You got out of there faster than heck. And
I wanted to make sure nobody changed their mind.
Well, they didn't. When I walked out the door, there's my friend Ralph Rufer. Good old buddy Ralph. We miss him a lot. But anyway, Ralph was at that door, and he says, "What in the world was that?"
Was that what he said?
Well, basically on radio, that's what he said. Anyway, I said, "Hey, that's how it goes. I said, everybody got votes. Looks like you're playing Liberty Center. And I said, you go ahead and beat them, and you come after us. You beat us. We'll see what happens. Like that. And anyway, he had another word, and I said, this isn't the Ralph Roofer tournament. I said, let's play it out, and we'll see what happens. Well, they did beat Liberty, and then we had a heck of a game in the sectional final against them, and it was a high-scoring game. We ended up winning by like 80-some to 78. It was a high-scoring game. But that was a draw that I remember dearly. And Ralph and I talked about that over the years, and we both chuckled about it. And he says, "Yeah, I was so ticked off," and he may not use those same words.
So coaches today don't have the enjoyment of such a memory since the RPI has taken all the fun away.
Well, speaking of coaches, let's go to our Coach's Corner.
We want to welcome Coach Nick Ramos of the Montpelier Locos to our Coach's Corner today. Nick, hey, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Well, it's our pleasure. And hey, your local team currently stands 12-3, and certainly some key games here facing you down the stretch. But you really had a tough start to your season. You out of the gate, you were 1-2. But then you won 11 straight to get to where you're at with those 12 wins. So, what was so effective in the 11-game streak that has turned your season around for you?
I think that one of the biggest things is that we're kind of playing as a team. At the beginning of the season, we were still trying to figure out what we were going to do as a team. A couple of guys that just moved in, just came back. We have a pretty young team, so we were still trying to find ourselves there at the beginning of the season. Mm-hmm. And so now that we've got those things kind of figured out and everybody starting to figure out their roles, we kind of got things rolling, but complacency starting to set in, and you never know what could happen here in these next few games. So we got to try to reel that back a little bit, I think.
Okay. So with, talk to me about possibly your style of play. How have you settled in on either end of the floor?
Yeah. Offensively, we want to push the ball. We want to get the ball moving. We like to get out and run. Ideally, we want to get to the basket, every possession. We like to get a paint touch every possession. But, a lot of times our shooters seem to be open on our reversals, and we've been hitting some shots. So our offense is we want to get out and run, but we'll also slow things down and try and get things done in the half court too, because we do have some good shooters and we do have some kids that can drive and slash. So that's what we like to do offensively. Defensively, we want to come out and pressure you in the ball and try and force mistakes and try and speed you up so that we can run our style of play, our pace,
Mm-hmm.
Well, Nick, let's go back a little bit. We know you're a Fayette High School grad. What was your inspiration, Nick, for getting into the coaching field?
Well, I've always loved the game. And then there towards, I was kind of milling through, trying to figure out what I wanted to do. And the athletic director there in Fayette offered me a job to coach, the elementary school, 3rd and 5th, 4th graders. So I started doing that, and then just really fell in love with coaching. So just kind of hung with it. And by this time I've coached a little bit of everything, being baseball, football, and even a little bit of soccer here and there. So I enjoy it.
Well, great. So as you look at your coaching career, is there someone or others that you looked up to during your coaching and getting ideas from and so forth?
Yeah, Todd Mitchell in Fayette was really inspirational to me. He ran a great practice. He really kept the kids disciplined. Ryan Colgrove was also in there. Me and Ryan started junior high together, so he just showed me how to really run things as a team, run games and that kind of stuff. And then, there in Fayette for a few years, we had Mitch Schaffner in there, so he really showed us how to really slow the game down and get our tempo played.
Gee, I wonder where he got that from.
Yeah. I wonder. Mr. Paul Wayne over in Holgate showed him all them tricks.
Well, that's certainly it certainly worked for Paul and that his Tigers team.
It certainly did. Certainly did.
Hey, you know what? Coaches are people of habits, and on game night or during practices or whatever, sometimes we get in the superstitious mode. Any rituals that, man, you have to do this either on a game day or a night of a game, things like that? Anything you got going for you?
We've been wearing the same jerseys for league games, that kind of stuff. Just the little things like that. There's nothing real huge. I mean, we obviously we like to pray before our games and give thanks after, and do all that kind of good stuff. But really, we just want to get out there and get it done.
There we go.
Well, Nick, I find it interesting that you work in town there at Montpelier in the Parks and Rec department, and sometimes you got to get help from get to your coaching position. How does that work over there at Montpelier?
It works really well. I have a great village council. We have a great village council who really works well with the school, and then our village administration, Jason Rocky, he does a really good job of giving us supervisors, the tools that we need to get our job done in town. And then they also give us a little bit of leeway. We have comp time and we have vacation time that we can use, and we get that kind of stuff done. And, so the village really helps out.
Well, great. That's always nice to have that. And of course, I'm
Yes,
sure
it
you
is.
have some people there that give you some coaching tips too. Downtown coaches.
Oh,
I
yeah.
guess.
Oh yeah, they're all over the place.
Oh, yeah.
Especially here in town, working for the parks, I talk to a lot of people and everybody's got something to say.
Yeah.
Usually positive though. It's been positive.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. How about this? I know you have a young guy over there, a freshman who's really doing some really good things for your squad. CJ Fiddler. Why don't you give us some input on CJ?
Yeah, CJ Fiddler, he's just a kid that he loves the game of basketball. I mean, I think he wakes up thinking about basketball, goes to bed thinking about basketball. As our season was beginning to start, his dad coaches with me over here, Chris Fiddler, on which, great help to our program, by the way, Chris.
Mm-hmm.
But he was sending pictures of here's what CJ's doing. This is 9:30 at night, shooting baskets with just a little spotlight on. So that's the kind of love he has for the game, and he's really smart with the basketball game. As a freshman, he's getting, he's talking to our guys and getting guys, that have been here for 2-3 years in our program, getting them in positions, firing them up and getting them ready to play. And we couldn't ask for anything more than that from a freshman.
Well, that's awesome. And I've watched some video of your squad, and you have him out in the front of your point of your 131 there, looks to me like, and he's pretty active out there.
Yeah, we just so long, and and like I said, he's so active. He's active with his hands, and he's smart. He can kind of see where they want to put that ball, and he kind of gets in the way, and he's a great job. He does a great job of talking to our defense, and and really getting kids going, and really getting kids. He's so long; it's tough to get the ball past him.
Oh, great.
As you were moving through the coaching ranks, you talked about coaching different levels, different sports for that matter. Was there any piece of advice that maybe somebody shared with you that has kind of stuck with you as you've kind of moved up the ladder?
Yeah. I mean, early on, I think it was, I don't know, I might have been, can't remember who it was that mentioned it to me, but an older coach mentioned to me that you either let it happen or you coach it to happen. And I kind of feel like that's, I think that's the way it is. If you see it happening and you're letting it happen, well, you're letting it happen. You're not coaching it to happen. I would much rather coach things to happen than just let things happen.
Well, that's gold right there. I mean, you don't give anybody credit. Say you made that up, because that's
okay,
good.
Yeah, right
that's
on.
good stuff there. So, here we are. We talked about down the stretch. You're going to have some big key games. You're fighting. You're 4-0 in the league. You've got some huge league games. Friday night with Pettisville at Pettisville is the first one on the list because they're right behind you, and Eden's right behind you.
Yes.
So take a look at what you got coming Friday and the stretch run as well.
Yeah, obviously Pettisville is a great team. I mean, I think they're sitting at 12-4 right now. Only one loss against a great Eden team in our league. And they're only playing two seniors on that team, so they're a young team as well, looking to get ready and looking to start doing some good things. And of course, you go over to Pettisville and Jack's a great player, but they have a lot of other guys that are good shooters from the perimeter, and they always play so fundamentally sound on both ends of the floor that they're a tough out. And then for us coming up after that, we have We have North Central on the following Friday, and then we have a Fayette team on the following Friday. And, and in the BBC, anybody's capable of beating anybody on any given Friday. So we got to mind our P's and Q's and stay on point if we expect to make this run.
Well, that's where you put yourself in that position. So you got to give your team a lot of credit for you're going to play meaningful
Absolutely.
games as you hit in February, because right around the corner is a tournament draw. So,
Oh yeah.
How do you think about that in terms of the MAC Preps RPI and how that's going to flow?
I kind of like it because it just kind of takes everything out of our hands. I mean, all I got to do as a coach is go out and win basketball games. I don't have to, go out and root for myself and tell everybody how great we are, because the numbers are there and the numbers don't lie most of the time. So, as far as I'm concerned, I'm kind of for the RPI. And, and I tell the boys, don't even bother looking at it. I mean, none of that stuff really matters to me until February 9th. And I know that's all cliche and all that, but in the grand scheme of things, kids start paying attention to that stuff, and then they start worrying about, well, where are we at? Well, you know what? Just play the next team that we have in front of us, and that's where you're at. And so I kind of like to stay focused on that. But I like the RPI because it takes all the political stuff out of it and all them, you know what I mean? All them little games that people used to play.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, we were both involved in the coaching ranks when we didn't have the RPI, and the draw was a heck of a lot different back then. It's pretty simple now.
It is. That's why I say I don't mind it so much.
Well, you should. You're doing a great job over there, Nick, and we appreciate you taking the time today to share with us about your locals. Looking forward to seeing how this thing goes for you guys, rest way out, and we wish you the best. So thanks a lot for sharing with us.
Well, thanks a lot for having me. We appreciate all the coverage you guys can give us. Thanks.
All right, it's our pleasure. Take care.
Time now for our sponsors. I want to thank D&G Welding of Archbold. Call 445-5751 and ask about their mobile service. That's D&G Welding. Innovatech Solutions, also of Archbold, 419-445-8088. Learn about their many services and technology at Innovatech Solutions or online at innovatech.solutions.net. Also, S&W Mills of Archbold, proud supporters of Archbold Athletics. You can contact them for all your animal bedding needs at 419-445-5206. That's S&W Mills. And BSN Sports at BSN. Their job is making sports easier for coaches and players. They've got top-notch fan gear, personalized uniforms, everything your team needs to succeed. You can contact Jim Garris, Rob Welch, or Rob Held today and take your game to the next level. That's BSN Sports. Thank you to our sponsors. Back to our Coach's Corner.
Want to welcome head coach of the Lady Wayne Trace Raiders, Bethany Dejarnet, to our Coach's Corner. Bethany, how are we doing this afternoon?
We're doing good. Thank you for having me.
Well, that's great. We appreciate you taking the time. Your Lady Raiders are the first team in the entire area to clinch a league title at this point. You have a title tie right now, and you're looking to win it outright in your next contest with Antwerp. Tell us about your team, would you please, Bethany?
Yeah, I mean, I think I have a good core group of girls back. I start 2 seniors and 3 juniors, and all of them have been playing varsity since their freshman year. I think one of my seniors last year was really the first that she had gotten a decent amount of varsity experience, but everyone else has played for quite a bit of time. So I have a veteran group back this year, but they're just playing really hard. They're playing together as a team. That's something that we've worked on as the season has progressed. But I've been really happy and really pleased with the way they've been playing together, and just like the camaraderie amongst themselves, and just the way they've been going out, working hard at practice, and then going ahead and carrying that over to game time.
Yeah, that's a really a positive thing. Upperclassmen leading your group like that. If you were to take us onto your court, describe your team's style of play for us, will you please?
I think if anybody is coming and watching one of our games, one of the big things I think that's going to stick out is just our defensive intensity. That's kind of been something we've had to hang our hats on for a majority of the years that I have been at Wayne Trace. We haven't really had a ton of really, really good outside shooters or really, really good inside players. So defense is something that we've had to just rely on to get our offense going and to get points on the board. So our defense is really one of the big things. And honestly, I think one big thing as well that's different this year than most years that I've coached here at Wayne Trace is I actually have some really good post presence. Lexi Moore has been a big key for us this year. She attacks the basket offensively, but then also defensively, going in and getting rebounds, just doing those scrappy things that I think sometimes it's hard for other teams to kind of match up with her, not knowing like how many rebounds is she going to get a night, how many points is she going to get. And I think that's something that I haven't always had as a coach here at Wayne Trace. I've had some girls step up in past years. I think back to the years that I had Kaylee Shepard and Sadie Sin. They were probably a max of maybe 5'7", 5'8", and they played like they were 6 foot and had to guard some really good offensive threats over the years while they were here. But like this is my first go around here these last 3 years of having someone that's a true post, and it's been fun.
Well, you mentioned with defense, obviously the key is defense can travel, and so you can always rely on that. But it's really helpful when you have some size inside to make your defense that much more stronger. So certainly a plus.
Yeah, I think it takes pressure. It takes a lot of pressure off whenever it comes to that.
Absolutely. You and I share a little bit of commonality. Both of us have found our way back to our alma mater and coached. And talk to me about your experiences coming back to Wayne Trace and coaching there.
I think going through high school, elementary school, basketball has always been a common factor. Being here at Wayne Trace, I had some really good mentors growing up, and then going and playing college ball. But red, white, and blue has always been in my blood. And whenever I had the opportunity to come back and get a coaching or a teaching job, the coaching position opened up. So I was very lucky and fortunate for that to happen. But I've been blessed while I've been here. I've had great groups of families, great groups of kids that have come through our program. Good support staff from top to bottom. I think something that if I look back over the years that I've done this, one big factor is just like my personal administrators at my building. Like I don't teach here at the high school. I teach at one of the elementary buildings, but I've just been blessed with the support from them. Being a female coach, that's not always something that you can rely on, but I've been really blessed with the administrators that I've had that have been supportive of me being a kindergarten teacher and then also going and being the high school basketball coach. So I've definitely been thankful for what I've been given.
Yeah, you mentioned your teaching responsibility there, and I think that's fascinating that you are a kindergarten teacher. I don't know of too many high school coaches all across the state, wherever, that teach kindergarten. That's got to be quite the mixture. In fact, it probably gets you ready for basketball too.
It does. I think one specific person that sticks out in my mind is Jason Waldvogel at Pettysville. He and I have kind of we've grown a friendship over the years. But he coaches high school basketball, but also he's the elementary principal over there at Pettysville. And that's something that he and I always joke about. Like I have my kindergartners all day, and sometimes like when I come to practice, I don't really have to switch too many gears because sometimes the kindergartners and the high schoolers act the same. But I've been really fortunate and very, very thankful for what I've been given.
Well, that's great. And again, we know Jason quite well, and again, I think that's super that you are teaching the little ones every day. That's awesome. You mentioned Lexi. You mentioned Lexi Moore earlier. Obviously, you have a nice supporting cast around her. Why don't you mention some of your other young ladies that are contributing to your success?
Yeah, absolutely. I have 3 seniors this year. I have Harper Myers. She's been a starter for at least the last 2 years. I think she might have also started her sophomore year. Harper's she's a hard-nosed girl. If Lexi's not getting the rebound, Harper's the one getting the rebound most times. She's really honed in on her shot this season, and when she's given an opportunity, she knows she has the green light to shoot the ball. I also have a senior in Tiana Sin. She's one that hasn't played as much varsity as some of the other girls. She's a senior this year, but she has really stepped up into the role. I think if I look back and think from last year to this year, who's made probably who has improved the most from season to season, it's definitely been Tiana. She put in a lot of extra time and work this past summer and off season, and it's definitely paying off this season. So that's been exciting to see for her. I also have Kathleen Solar. She's my other senior that rounds us out, but she is the one that comes in and does the dirty work when Lexi needs a break, or she even comes in and her and Lexi are like the tandem down low. But she understands the game really well. Her defense is coming along, and when she has an opportunity to shoot the ball, she's going to shoot the ball and put it in the basket for us. We also have, we're lucky enough to have a really cool twin duo out front, Kareen and Caroline Winans. Caroline's my point guard. She really has a knack for understanding the game. And I think this year, one of her big things that's really come along is just her defense. Most nights she gets the task of defending the other team's best player, but then she also herself has to handle the ball and be like the quarterback on the team. So I've been proud to see the progress that she's made. She also has worked on her shot. So she's a girl that from night to night, you never know what you're going to get. She could come and knock down a bunch of threes, or she's going to just get a bunch of steals. And then her twin sister, Kareen, she's another one out front. She's pestering whoever it is. Normally she's got the backup, whoever the second best player is on to guard on defense. And her and her sister just do such a good job of intermixing on defense. Same thing on offense. At the beginning of the season, Caroline actually had an injury, so Kareen had to step in, and she did such a good job of stepping in and being our point guard. So I was super proud of her. And then we also have Caitlin Mead. She's another junior, hasn't gotten probably as much time in as everyone else, but when she's given the opportunity and her number gets called, she goes in and plays hard and gives us what we need out there on the floor.
Well, that's awesome. I know.
Then I also
go ahead. I'm sorry.
I can't forget my one sophomore.
Oh.
I have one sophomore. Her name is Amber Stoller. She's the senior, Kathleen's sister, and Amber has she has really just kind of honed in on what her role is this year. She's normally the girl that comes in and gives Deanna or Caroline or Kareen or Harper a break, and she has really stepped up and taken that challenge. She'll step up and knock down a shot when she's called to do that, but she understands her role and she's doing a really good job at that.
Well, it's really great you're able to get those young kids and develop depth, because it pays off now, but more so in the future. So that's really a positive.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Now this weekend, you got your games Thursday night and so forth against Antwerp, I believe it is, and you are looking to wrap up the league championship for sure. But you also have your draw this weekend, and that district you're in over at Van Wert is absolutely loaded with some really quality squads. Well, how do you see that playing out?
I think we have one of the most difficult districts, but I think looking back from year to year, this is probably the first year that we've played, or at least know a lot about the teams that are inter-district. Sometimes you get teams in there and you've heard of them. You probably have no idea where they're actually located on the map, but then you get matched up with them and you got to figure them out. I think we know a decent amount about most of the teams that are in our district, but yeah, we have a pretty tough district. You got Crestview and Columbus Grove and Allen East in there, and then Riverdale is in there. But honestly, I'm not fully sure how it's all going to shake out. I kind of have an idea in my head, but we still got we have a ball game to play tonight, and I know a lot of those other teams have conference games tonight as well. So we'll just have to see how everything shakes out before we get to Sunday.
Yeah, well, I just real quickly, do you like the concept of having a home game or a home contest as your first tournament game rather than going to a neutral site?
I'm going to say no. I guess, and I can say this now, I think, now that I've been coaching as long as I have, which I know I've not coached as long as you or your brother has, but I think I like the old school way, because I feel like when you actually have a specific location, it really feels like whenever it's a higher seed home location, it just feels like another regular season game, in my opinion. So there's you got to get them all hyped for the tournament atmosphere when it might not necessarily feel like tournament atmosphere. So I would rather go back to the old way.
Yeah, concur.
I think you got two guys on this end that would certainly give you 100% agree with that. So Hey, Bethany, we certainly appreciate you taking the time again with us today, and we wish you and your Lady Raiders all the best in tonight and also into the future as you head down Turney Trail. Always nice talking with
Thank you. Thank you.
Uh-huh.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Take care.
Bye.
now.
Once again, we want to thank our sponsors for Northwest Ohio Hoop Chat, D&G Welding, 445-5751, Innovatech Solutions, 419-445-8088, S&W Mills of Archbold, 419-445-5206, and BSN Sports. Contact Jim Garris, Rob Welch, or Rob Held today for BSN, the heart of the game. Thank you to our sponsors for Northwest Ohio Hoop Chat. Guys, let's turn our attention next to our segment, Senior Spotlight. You got a couple of them today.
Want to welcome Kahlil Ligon from Defiance High School to our Senior Spotlight. Kahlil, how we doing this afternoon?
Good, you?
Great, thank you very much. I just want to get into this. How about let's go back to the beginning. When did you start to play basketball that you remember, and who was a big influence for you back in the day?
I started playing basketball around when I was in like second grade, and biggest person to get me into it was my dad. He's a big basketball guy, and drove me to play basketball and play all the sports I do today. So I'm always thankful for him.
Well, you say all the sports you play today. I know you are a busy young man. You go 3 sports around the season with golf and then basketball, then baseball.
Yeah.
That leads me to believe that you're pretty busy in the summer. What's a typical day like for you in the summer?
So I go to anywhere that I can get open to, then I'll try during the summertime. I'll try to throw because baseball is typically what I'm already in with travel and everything. So I'll try and throw, hit, lift a little bit there. Then I always try to work on some like shooting drills afterwards for basketball season because I know it's always going to be around the corner. So I got to keep in condition with that and just am ready for the seasons that to come.
Sure. You talk about your season. Let's kind of go back to that. The Bulldogs are 13-2 and 5-1 in the Western Buckeye. What's your role? What's your role with the team as you see it this year?
Leader, just to be a leader. I feel like stretches last year, we lacked some leadership, and I decided that I needed to be a bigger part about that, and that's been helping improve our team because when we've gotten in slumps, I knew I had to communicate with the teams, keep the team up, so that we can perform, and it's worked out for us so far.
Well, it certainly has. A year ago, you talked about last year a little bit. You finished 8-16, and now, of course, you've got a big turnaround this year, 13-2, as we said. What's been the biggest difference in that turnaround for your Bulldogs?
Guys stepping up. We've had some stretches last year where we'd get down and we would just want to be able to find our groove again, and we would just play angry and play out of control. But this year, I feel like some of the guys, when we've been down in a rut or just not scoring the ball very well, somebody's always stepped up and taken that initiative to score and get the team going a little bit. And I think that's just brung up the whole team morale. When that happens, it just makes everybody play better.
Well, that's great. And that is what it's all about. How about this? You mentioned some other guys in your squad. How about that? How about if you bring up some guys? What's some other guys in your team that have been really making great contributions?
Shia Slaughter is a sophomore, but younger guy, still learning the game a lot, but he does a big part. He brings in the energy. He's a big energy guy. He knows when he makes mistakes and he corrects them. He's very, very coachable. Another one, our whole lineup's good, but another big guy that comes up is Breslin Zipfel. Breslin comes off the bench every time, and he's always a rebounding guy. Brings in that energy. He scores when we're down in ruts, and he's always a huge part of what we want to do.
Okay, well, it's good to have great contributions from from people, and obviously successful teams have that.
Yes.
So
yes.
Take a look and dissect your game a little bit. How do you feel it's improved? Maybe since let's go back to your freshman year till now. What improvement have you seen?
Just knowing how to think the game a little more. I think I struggled younger when I was thinking too much, but like more about my mood. I was thinking too much. I was too scared, too timid a little bit. But I think now that I've played more and more basketball, that I've really calmed down and I'm starting to think the game and starting to make the right decisions at the right time.
Mm-hmm.
So that's just been a huge help for my game.
So the game's kind of slowed down for you a little bit in that sense.
Yes.
You know, if we were to corner Coach Lehman and say, hey, give us your synopsis on Kahlil's game, how do you think he'd describe your style of play?
I would say he would describe it as competitive and a team player, because I'm always trying to get after it. And I think he knows that I'm always trying to get after it. And I just want the best for the team. And I just want to win every game that we play.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think you're right on. In fact, I asked Coach Lehman that exact question, and he said competitive and that you would hold others accountable. So you're pretty much spot on there, Kahlil. How about this? In your career, have there been other guys that you've looked up to as you've played for the Bulldogs? Other former players or players around the league or whatever?
Yeah, I would say I really looked up to Caden Zachary about 2 years ago. He was a senior, and he was a good player, great player, and I knew I could learn a lot from him. He was always composed when he played, and his footwork was some of the best footwork I've seen out of a high school guy.
Nice.
Still even now. And so he always taught me to be strong, and he just showed me some moves when I was younger, and especially being a younger guy, playing with older guys, I was always nervous. So he was always there to encourage me and help me out.
Kahlil, you wear number 23. Any significance as to why you wear that number?
LeBron James. LeBron James is my favorite player. Always has been.
Okay. And would there be any, let's say, take you to a game day, you know, tomorrow you get this game at Adelaide. What might be a superstition or a ritual that you have to go through on game day?
Usually I listen to music. So on away games, I'll usually listen to music. And there's always this one clip I have of Mike Tyson, and it's about him talking about fear and how he's always feared and scared that he's going to lose. But then the closer he gets to being game ready and event starting, he's always confident. He just turns into a different mode. So I kind of put that into my own game because I'm always a little nervous before game. But when I get playing on the court and get going, I just feel like I'm the best out on the court.
Well, there you go. You have that pregame nervous edge. That's always positive in my mind. How about this? You're going to be graduating from Defiance High School next spring.
Yes.
What's your future plans hold for Kahlil Ligon?
I'm hoping, I haven't decided where I'm going to college yet, but I'm going to go play college baseball. And I'm going to probably major in sports psychology or some type of business management, I would say.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you what, just from our few minutes talking with you, I think you could be a sports psychologist from just listening to your dialogue here. So, hey, we sure appreciate you taking the time, Kahlil, to join us. And I know your Bulldogs have put together a really solid year, and you're looking for bigger things ahead. And we wish you and the Dogs well in the future. Thanks a lot.
Yes, thank you for having me.
And now continuing with our senior spotlight, the young lady from the area that you guys have picked for today's program. Who do we have?
We want to welcome Montpelier's Kelsie Bumb to our senior spotlight. Kelsie, thanks for joining us this afternoon.
Yep, thank you for inviting me.
Well, you're very welcome. Hey, you're having a great season. Your locals are 12-5, 5-0 in the BBC. But before we go on to that, let's go back in history a little bit here. What and when did you get interested in sports in general?
So when I was younger, far young, my sister started playing basketball, and my dad would coach their teams when they were really young. And so I was the manager, running around, filling water bottles up, and also shooting on the side. And so I was at every practice and every game with them. So about third grade is when I started playing basketball, and my dad was coaching my teams. He coached all the way up to my 6th grade year, and then junior high I had a different coach, and then now in high school he's my coach.
Well, you know, that's interesting because Doug and I both had an opportunity to coach our own sons, and here you are playing
Mhm.
for your father. Talk to us about that whole dynamic, what you like about it, maybe some things you don't like about
Yeah, it's definitely a love-hate relationship. I love that he is my coach. He's a really good coach. But you'll probably see me and him argue on the sidelines during a game. But it is just love-hate relationship. I love that he coaches for me and my team.
So if we pinpointed the coach and said, "Hey, describe Kelsey's style of play," how would he describe your style of play?
I think he would describe me as a creative player on the court, confident, and definitely not afraid to make mistakes.
Well, that's great. Hey, making mistakes and learning how to fail, that's good, and because you always can correct them. How about this? Your season, like I said, 12-5, a really good success. So, what's some of the reasons for the success of your squad this year?
I would say it's definitely our 5 seniors. We've been playing together our whole lives, and we play almost these same sports. And just being together in our chemistry, and Zoe Reeby's being a junior, she's been doing a lot of great stuff for us. She's been scoring a lot for us recently and getting boards for us.
Well, you mentioned Zoe. How about any other teammates that are being a key part of your success?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I could talk about each and every one of us, how we all contribute to our team. I could say Aaliyah Hillard, how quick she is off the dribble. Lila Mahan just coming off the bench whenever she doesn't start. She is just great for us. And Madeline Hopper, her defense is just, you can't, she's just annoying to be around. Like whenever she has to guard someone, there's times in practice she's guarding me. I'm like, geez, just get off me. But she's good. And we need Jada Raby's just being a well-rounded player and always scoring big for us.
Well, that's quite a scouting report. I think all your future opponents have just learned a lot about your teammates. Um, Talk to me about your jersey number. You are number 3. What's the significance of that?
So I wear number 3 because when I was young, I was watching our high school girls play, and it was Hannah Blake who wore number 3. She's a great player that went through Montpelier. She got 1,000 points. And I always wanted to be like her, and she was my idol, and that's why I chose number 3. Throughout my entire life, I wanted to be just like her in every sport possible.
Mhm.
Well, speaking of every sport, you're a 3-sport athlete: volleyball, basketball, and softball. First of all, do you have a preference there, or just whatever's in season?
Uh, my favorite sport,
Yeah,
or
yeah. What is your favorite? You got a favorite?
I mean, I would say probably basketball or softball.
Uh,
Those 2 are my favorite.
yeah, softball. You're an infielder.
Yeah, I'm a shortstop.
Very good.
And I hear you hit the long ball.
Yep, I sure do.
Okay, well, what about you're busy all 3 sports. You're just all over the place, but yet you still have a part-time job at this Cookies on Demand place. So if I came to Montpelier and came into that store and found you behind the counter, you'd recommend what brand of cookie?
I would recommend our most popular cookie is sugar cookie, the frosted sugar. But me personally, my favorite is peanut butter blossom.
Ooh.
I'm a cookie guy. I could do both of those. So would any of those be a pregame meal or something you have to have on game day, like your upcoming game?
No,
No. What
I
about
don't really before game.
yeah? What about maybe a pregame song or ritual that you or your team have pregame?
So it's really our team in the locker room. Before we go out on the court, we do these superstitions of we do a cheer. It's kind of silly, but it helps us bring our nerves down. And then we also shake our hands and shake our feet just to get the nerves out and that we're ready for the court.
Oh, that's great. Hey, real quick, also, being a 3-sport player, how about a typical day in the summer? You're making preparations for 3 different sports. What's a typical day look like for you in the summer?
In the summer, I usually will go to whatever open gym I have, basketball or volleyball. And then later on the day, I'll probably have a scrimmage or a volleyball scrimmage to go to. But I also have work during the day. And then, you just mix in softball here and there. So it's a pretty busy summer, but I like it because I know working in the summer will make you better for the season to come.
You betcha.
Absolutely. So, as your softball season hits, once your basketball's done, and hope that lasts for a long time here for you, because you guys are having a great season. Softball comes, then you'll have graduation. So, what's your future plans upon leaving Montpelier High School?
I plan to go to the University of Toledo. I'm going to major in nursing and get my bachelor's in that. I plan on being a travel nurse. And then my dream is to travel to a different country, but who knows if that will happen or not.
Yeah, well, it's always have a dream. You can always strive for it. But hey, thanks a lot, Kelsie. We really appreciate you taking the time and joining us today, and certainly wish you and your Lady Locos the best of luck moving forward.
Thanks, Kelsie.
Thank you.
And once again, we want to thank our sponsors for the hour program, Northwest Ohio Hoop Chat. We'll thank D&G Welding of Archbold. Call 419-445-5751. You can ask about their mobile service. That's D&G Welding. Also, Innova Tech Solutions with a K. You can get to them at innovatechsolutions.net or call 419-445-8088 for technology services. Call S&W Mills of Archbold. Contact them at 419-445-5206. S&W Mills and BSN Sports. You can get to them by contacting Jim Garris, Rob Welch, or Rob Held, and find BSN Sports for personalized uniforms and top-notch fan gear, and take your game to the next level. BSN Sports. Thank you for your sponsorship. Our next portion of the program, the VIP, very important person or very interesting person portion of our program.
We want to welcome Ashley Oyer to our VIP segment. Now, VIP, very important person or a very interesting person, and she covers both grounds there. So,
absolutely, she does.
Ashley, thanks for joining us this afternoon.
Thanks for having me.
Well, let's start at the beginning. Where did sports start for Ashley Schrock Oyer? When and where?
Where did sports start?
Yeah, how? What got you started?
When I was young, I don't know. I just was always outside as a kid and just wanted to do anything sports related. I actually started as a runner when I was really young, and we would kind of travel the circuit and do these like state meets and different things like that for track. And then I kind of slowly, 5th and 6th grade, got into basketball, and then kind of never looked back.
Well, that running took you, as you said, you did that in high school as well. So you won 10 varsity letters. That's almost unheard of these days.
Yep. I had 2 in cross country, 4 in track, and 4 in basketball. So I did not run cross country my junior and senior year. I played some summer AAU into the fall, so I didn't run cross country my last 2 years.
Well, let's kind of, I'm not going to make you brag on yourself, so we'll do the bragging for you. Back in 2000 grad, you played for Brad Myers. We talked earlier. Brad was a player for me at Striker on the stage, and he was just a really, really good player. And obviously, he became a very, very good coach. And no thanks to everything he learned from me, he had to wipe out and start on his own because he did great. But that 1997 team, state champs, you were a freshman that year, correct?
I was a freshman, yep.
And he did say you were part of the team. What was your role on that team?
Well, I started that season actually on JV, and then about a few games in, I played like 2 quarters JV, 2 quarters varsity, and then I think the last like 6 or 7 games of the regular season, I moved up to just varsity. So I kind of worked my way into the first or second person off the bench. And to be honest, I played on that team because I could play defense. So I knew my role. I would sometimes guard the other team's best guard, and then on offense, I would pass it to Katie Griggs or Stacy Roth or, Amberly Knotts. I knew my role to get to who to get it to. So,
well, oftentimes we tell players, hey, you want to make a a time and get some time on the floor, do it on the defensive end. Yeah, it's always a great place to start. So obviously you learned your lesson well there. Boy, I tell you what, your 4 years at Wauseon playing for Coach Myers, what a run you all had. And we're talking 86-11 in those 4 years, 4 league titles, 2 district titles. We've already mentioned the state title. The following year, you just say, well, let's go back to back. And you made it back to Columbus for the Final Four. Wow, it's just amazing. I guess, is there any one thing that stands out to you during all of that time that you have a fond memory of?
Yeah. Well, obviously, like the state run, I was a 14-year-old freshman, so I was young, and while you're in it, it's obviously fun. But I think just kind of now that I'm a coach and you kind of realize like how hard that is to do and how special of a group we had. And I think we kind of knew it, but I don't think we fully understood, until you're older and you can kind of look back on that. But I remember just the fan support. We played my sophomore year, we played Patrick Henry, and back then we only had 20 games. So it was game 20. We both were 19-0. We were both number 1 in the state in our division, and it was for the league title.
Wow.
And I remember the bell rang at 3:15, and it was at our place, and there was a line all the way from the gym to the pool already at 3:15. and we had shoot around and stuff, and people were telling us good luck as we went home to come back, and so just the fan support, I think was just how, being in a small town community and just how everybody embraces when you have runs like that, I just think is something that I'll never forget.
Mm-hmm.
Well, those are special times. And let me just ask this. So you and your former teammates still get together and reminisce and tell you how good each other was?
We had I'm trying to think we had a 20-year reunion. So I think we had a 10-year and a 20-year. And so, it's always, we revert back to, all the stories and all the laughs and the jokes when we all get together. So it's not super often now that we're all, older and we've got our families and people are spread out a little bit more, but it is fun when we get back together.
Sure. Well, actually, reflecting back, what do you think? What were the keys that made those teams so dominating?
Well, you got to be able to put together, I think, multiple classes, have some back-to-back classes of some solid athletes. I just think, I think Coach Myers, I have the utmost respect for him. And I think how he handled, all of us, and that he just got us. We didn't care who scored. We just wanted to win. Mm-hmm. And for us, it always started on the defensive end, and I take that with me, even now into coaching. And we just, practices were very competitive and we battled it out with each other. But then at the end of the day, we're all teammates. And I think he did a great job of, just managing all of that, and always had us prepared and ready to go.
Okay. Obviously that happened. What about if we would contact Coach Meyer today and say, talk to us about this Ashley Strock back in the day. What kind of comments would he say about your style of play?
I think he would say that I was a tough-nosed kid. I probably in high school wasn't necessarily the best shooter on the perimeter, but I could get downhill on people and I was aggressive. I would hope that he would say that I was a leader, on the floor. He would probably also tell you that every once in a while I rolled my eyes at him and he didn't love that. So I remember calling him when I was a coach and I had a player that did that, and I was like, I get it now. I'm sorry. So we had a laugh about that.
That's all great. He did tell me that every once in a while you would catch his wrath for whatever reason.
Yeah.
But he said you took it well, and you accepted the challenges and always responded. So he knew he could get on you because he could trust you because you'd get after it.
Yep, that's true.
So you get out of Wauseon in 2000, you graduate, and then you go to Cleveland State, and you continued your basketball and your education, your basketball career there. What What led you to
Yeah.
Cleveland State? Was there other possibilities for you?
I had some opportunities like further away from home, and I kind of wanted to stay closer to home. Um, I honestly, my first choice would have been Bowling Green. So it came down to me and another girl from Wisconsin. For that, just recruiting is very
Mhm.
black, just kind of brutal at times.
Yep.
And they chose the other girl over me. And then Cleveland State they offered me early actually. And it was just kind of one of those things like I wanted to be able to enjoy my senior year and just play and not have the pressure of also the whole recruiting process. So I was fortunate. I played for Steve Mix in the summer on his AAU team. So we got quite a bit of exposure that summer and just kind of took some visits and just decided that I loved Cleveland and it wasn't super far away. I'm the oldest of my siblings. And so I wanted to be able to come home if I could at times. To be able to watch them play and things like that. So yeah, it just seemed like a good fit.
Well, and obviously it worked out there because you had an opportunity to play for 4 years, scored over 1,000
Yeah.
points. The one thing I thought was you even made All Horizon team for a couple of years, so obviously you made impact
Yeah.
there. Uh, I don't remember if I ever read this about anybody, let alone a local person like yourself. You were the only person in Division I women's basketball in your junior year to go back-to-back triple doubles. Is that you remember that stat?
That is true. Yes, I do.
How
Yep.
crazy is that? Do you remember which two opponents that would have been against?
It was against Youngstown State and Wright State.
Okay, a couple of good
So
Horizon. Yeah,
it was 2 Horizon League teams.
very good.
Yeah. Yep.
That is just like pretty unique anyway. But well, let's
Yeah.
kind of we leave Cleveland State and we come back to Wauseon. Is that accurate?
Yeah. Yep. I had to go 4.5 years in college because I couldn't do my student teaching and play basketball at the same time.
Okay.
So once I graduated college, I came back to Wauseon and subbed for a semester, and then volunteered with the high school team with Coach Myers that year. And then I got offered a teaching job and was able to stay here and got into coaching from there. So I coached 7th grade for a couple years at Wauseon.
Mhm.
And then just kind of, I talked with Coach Myers at different points of, I knew I wanted to be a head coach. I wasn't sure when the right time would be or what, obviously I was going to stay teaching here. So it had to kind of be somewhere local. And the Fayette girls job came open. And so I applied for that and was the varsity coach at Fayette for 3 years. I kind of knew eventually Coach Myers, he said, I'm not going to do this forever, and so I felt like I needed to get some type of experience before I could, feel like I was justified in applying for the head coaching job here. So coached at Fayette for 3 years. Great experience, learned a lot, but then decided to come home and come back to junior high, called Coach Myers. I was like, okay, I think my husband and I were kind of talking about starting a family. So that travel back and forth and, just with kids. So came back and coached 8th grade for, I think, 3 years before Coach Myers decided to hang it up. So, and then applied for the varsity job here and was the varsity coach at Wauseon for 5 years.
Okay. Well, we've had coaches that we spoke with that were, they've coached the guys and they went to the girls or vice versa. Obviously, you're unique in the sense that you're a female who had been doing girls, but all of a sudden now you jumped to the guys' side. So, talked about how that came about.
Yeah, well, I got out for 3 years. I have 2 boys, so my boys were young and just kind of felt like I needed to be mom for, just get out of it and be mom for a little while they were young. And so I was out for 3 years. And then one day, I worked with Kyle Storr, who was the JV boys coach, and he took a principal job at Liberty Center. So the job was open and I didn't think anything of it. And Chad called me one day, and we were coaches together, girls and boys coach at the same time. So we have had a good relationship. And he called me one day and said, "Hey, so I'm looking for a JV boys coach." And I was like, "Yeah, do you need help finding anyone?" And he was like, "Well, actually, I was thinking you." And so we just joked, and I joked and I said, "You'd have a girl on your staff?" He goes, "I think so." So we just kind of, I'd never really thought about that, about coaching boys. I had, my boys were still younger, and I figured I would help coach their teams when they were young, but never really thought about coaching boys. And just kind of thought about it and was like, well, I've got boys and they're going to be coming through the program, hopefully. So let's try it. So this is now my 4th year coaching the JV boys. So I'm having fun.
Well, it sure sounds like it. And let me just go there with that then, with the gals and the guys. What, in your opinion, what's the biggest difference in coaching the boys as opposed to coaching the girls? What's some similarities and some differences, perhaps?
Yeah, I think, with our 2 programs, because, you had Coach Burgai and Coach Myers and then Chad and then me, I think our coaching staffs over the years have shared so many things. So the X's and O's were a lot of similar things that we've run, between our 2 programs over the years. I would say, that was a similar kind of adjustment for me. So the X's and O's stuff I don't think is a ton different. I think, obviously boys probably tend to be a little bit quieter than girls. And I think it's just more fast paced, right? With boys, they tend to be more athletic and just the pace of the game, I think is a little bit is faster than the girls. I think girls they have to feel good to play good, I always say. And I think boys have to play good to then feel good about themselves, So it's just kind of that, I think those are probably the biggest differences, but I enjoyed coaching. I've enjoyed coaching both the guys and the girls.
How about back in the day? Dave mentioned that Coach Meyer, you got the wrath of Coach Meyer at times. How about you and your coaching? And you have to get on a player, a girl or a guy. Do you see a difference in that, getting on a girl as opposed to getting on a guy, to getting that wrath?
I don't know that it's necessarily guy or girl. I think it's more personalities.
There you go.
I think there were, Coach Myers. Yeah, there were times we joke, he's like, I think I might've gotten on you and probably Katie and maybe even Shelly Borton probably are the 3. He's like, I knew I could get on you and you could handle it, but then there were kids that you can't do that with. And I think that's the same. Yeah. I think that's the same with boys too. You guys have coached a long time. There are certain kids you can get on and they're going to respond in a positive way. And there are certain kids, if you get on, they might just, they don't handle that well. So you've got to know, you got to get to know your players to know who can take that and who can't.
Actually, this has been a lot of fun, and we've really enjoyed connecting as part of this VIP segment. And we definitely think you are definitely a VIP. So, hey, thanks so much for taking the time and joining us this afternoon, and wish you all the best.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Ashley.
That's the final horn. Time for our final buzzer segment. Gentlemen, what are your thoughts leading into this weekend on basketball in the area?
Well, we do have some really interesting games forthcoming Thursday night. A couple of really good, interesting games. On the girls' side, Montpelier heading to Pettisville with big BBC top of the league honors on tap, and undefeated Delta heading to Wauseon, which is always a tough game for that Fulton County rivalries. And then on Friday night, there's some interesting games back in the NWOL. The leader at the top, Patrick Henry, going to cross the north of the river to play their friendly rivals, the Liberty Center Tigers, and that'll be a war. I mean, that will be a battle. And some other games, Defiance heading to Elida. That will be a big important game in the WBL. Napoleon has an interesting game. They'll host Perrysburg, and then they end up going to their rival Defiance on Tuesday. So there's some interesting games forthcoming, and hey, if you got time to get out and watch one, again, grab that popcorn and go enjoy.
Yeah, no doubt. And, at this time, we'd certainly like to thank our sponsors for their time and for being with us all year long. And you know what? We want to wish everybody a great weekend and stay warm and have fun.
All right, Doug and I will have broadcasts on Friday and Saturday night for the Archbold games. It'll be Archbold and Swanton at the Thunderdome, and then on Saturday night it'll be Tenora visiting at the Thunderdome as well. You and I will have those broadcasts on 96.1 WMTR. We thank you for joining us this evening for Hoop Chat. We invite you to drop us a line. You can contact us at NWOH Hoop Chat through email. That's NWOhioHoopChat@gmail.com, or find us on X, NWOH Hoop Chat. You can get to us there as well. Once again, thank our sponsors, D&G Welding and Overtech Solutions, S&W Mills, and BSN Sports. This has been a production of WMTR Sports. And for Doug and Dave Krause, I'm producer Ryan Throne. We'll see you courtside.